So the main opposition People's Democratic Party is on something of a menacing roller coaster ride, reeling from the wave of defections to the APC. And it's not just the increasing gaggle or horde of politicians who are crossing over, it's also the level. Governors, members of the National and State Assemblies, local government chairman, and a former vice presidential candidate. It's the kind of thing that can be deadly to the survival of any political party, and analysts say it unquestionably poses an existential threat to the PDP. After its stellar run of 16 years from 1999 to 2015, is this the end, they ask? But there are the optimists who say that within such a crisis potentially also lies an opportunity, a chance not only for the PDP to take punitive steps against those enemies within who've taken a wrecking ball to the very soul of the party, but an opportunity to restore confidence by assuring the public with its actions that the party is now purged of these sabotage plots. So what's the betting that the PDP will rise again like the phoenix it once was? Or is it more likely that it'll be overwhelmed by this fusillade of defections, becoming just a place for those tired politicians looking to pass time? Well, for more on this, I'm joined now in the studio by the political activist and civil society leader, Dr. Usman Bugaje, who's a former special advisor to the Vice President of Nigeria and was also a member of the House of Representatives. Thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Charles, my pleasure.
And you've had a long traveling day, so thank you for taking the time to be here. What's your reaction to this fusillade of defections from the PDP to the APC?
My first reaction is that this should not come to us as a surprise. We should be able to see it coming.
Well, the PDP said it was a surprise. They said they didn't expect it.
No, they don't quite say what things are. I mean, this is the hallmark of politicians. And I think my first reaction is to say that they are telling the world and telling Nigerians that politicians, that this generation of politicians are essentially prostitutes. And it underscores the point that some of us have been making, that our political parties have no content, they have no conscience, and they have no courage. You can't find any courage of conviction. Just go back a few years back. 2, 3, 4, 5 decades. Look at the politicians. Look at how passionate. Look at the passion with which they stand by their party. And when you mention the parties of old, it comes immediately with an idea of what they stand. You can't say what PDP stands today. You can't say what APC stands today. You can't say what any other party really stands today. More than that, Charles, when you look at the party, you look at the what you call him, the chair of the party. What do you see? In one of the parties, you have somebody who has, whose video has gone viral collecting dollars, right? I mean, so when they made him, could they have been unconscious of the fact that this is what this man symbolized? Others who are leading other parties, go check their records. And so really, this to me is not surprising. It's not a surprise. It's something that would obviously come to pass. And like I said, it underscores this very important point that we have been making, that if we cannot reinvent our democracy, we're going to lose it. Because at the moment, it is simply, coming to nothing. 25 years of democracy, Charles, there is no development. If anything, this country has been going down the drain under the watch of these same very people. And you see them, you hear them, you see what they do, and this country is like, in a trance, basically waiting. The civil society has been fairly quiet. If the civil society continues to be silent, when the masses arise, you know, because they have nothing else, you know, to eat and nowhere to go, that's going to be quite serious.
That's a very powerful opening statement there, but I do have to say that the civil society are not entirely quiet. We've had some of them, quite a number of them, making a lot of statements. Just yesterday we heard that they are planning a 7.2 million person march on Abuja.
I'm looking at the standards,
in protest.
Charles. I'm looking at the standard with which some of us faced the Abacha regime. We were in the trenches.
Yeah. I agree that the way that you, people like you, to whom we remain grateful that Nigeria even has a democracy today, took on the government, the military government at the time, the way that you did. But returning to the moment, I mean, it looks like it's an offensive against the PDP by the APC. Do you think the APC is leaning on people and coercing them to defect, or are the defectors just doing it unbidden and of their own accord? Because, I mean, there are, you know, stories flying around on both sort of sides.
Well, for what I know, and I don't claim to know everything, the APC is basically using money to buy off PDP.
Well, some say a carrot and a stick. So the money is the carrot, what's the stick?
I'm not quite sure. Of course, if there are people with records in the EFCC, they might threaten them. They might do these kind of things, and this has been the practice right from the time of President Obasanjo. So this might be, but I think the essential thing is basically money. And for me, this is a very serious issue. And this should be the center of our conversation in politics today. Because for as long as money is going to be the determining factor, you know, then that's the end of democracy and that's the end of politics.
I would agree.
Then we go into something else completely different, maybe on the path of Peru under Fujimori.
Yeah. So it's very worrying. Yeah. The PDP, though, in its response through the acting national chairman, Umar Damagum, has said that the next election will not be determined. First of all, they said they weren't expecting the mass defections in Delta State. Then he said that the next election will not be determined by the number of governors in a party, but it'll be between the people and the APC, and that it would be an opportunity to punish the ruling party for the pain that it's inflicted on the country. What do you think of that response? So that seemed a bit tepid coming from the party that is supposed to be the main opposition in the country.
Well, there has not been opposition right from the time the Minister Wiki did what he did. I mean, basically, PDP has lost that opportunity to become an opposition party. Look at how members behaved, you know, in the last big issue of emergency rule in the parliament. Look at what they did when it came to the budgeting, to so many other things. So really, there is no opposition party. Really?
But what do you see as the dangers right now for the PDP? Can they prevent more top-level people in the party from defecting?
I don't think. I think the foundation is essentially wrong. You know, I was part of the merger. As you know, I was National Secretary of AC, which became ACN. And during the merger of ACN, some governors from PDP, part of ANPP and, you know, part of ABGA. During that merger, a fundamental mistake was made. We did everything, myself and the chair, Bisi Akande, to stop it. And what was that? It was the fact that now that we have an opportunity to reconstruct a party, we should develop a criteria for people who are going to hold responsibilities of the party. They all opposed it, except a few of us. And why? Because everybody wants to bring his own person in the party. If I'm a politician, I'm interested in a particular post, you know, I want to make sure that in the national working committee, I have either the secretary or I have the, the organizing secretary or the legal advisor or some kind of post, within. And what do? They send their boys or their girls, basically. People who are not even qualified to be there, who don't have the character to hold a party, people who don't have sufficient education to even understand the implication of some of the things they do. Now, these are the people now, because the relationship between them and these people are basically transactional, right? It's money. Somebody comes with a higher price, and they go for it. And that's what's happening, not just in the PDP, even in the APC. Get to any party. This is what politicians do, and see what is coming. I fought this as much as I could. I pulled back when I realized that, but I made my point. And I'm in a position to tell some of these people who blocked this idea because they thought they were going to lose. I said, if you have people who are qualified, who have character, who have got the passion for the party, you can be sure of one thing: that party is going to remain intact.
And some have suggested that the PDP's, if you like, destruction began after it abandoned its tradition of zoning in 2023, and instead of rotating the presidency to the south, it kept it in the north with Atiku Abubakar, who said at the time that winning should be more important than zoning. Well, he lost, the second time he'd done so in a row. So the PDP abandoned its principles and disregarded its own rules, and now it's paying for it. That's according to some assessments. Is that a fair analysis?
I'm quite familiar of that, but I think that's simplistic. There are other factors, and it's
But
easy
is that a factor?
Yes, it's a factor, because there are people who very much believe in zoning. And there were people who pulled out, even if they remained in the party, but they were not playing the kind of role people were expecting them to play. But you see, zoning itself, this is my own view, zoning itself may have its initial role in creating confidence, inclusion, but in itself it's not democratic. And it sort of, what's the word to use? It brings down the standard so low. What we're looking for moving forward is a Nigerian who is qualified to be the president of this country.
Yeah, but the problem is that when you discountenance in a country as disparate as Nigeria, when you discountenance zoning, not only do you essentially tear the party apart, but the people who then come forward, because you were talking about the money bags, this is a money bags democracy. The people who come forward are themselves not necessarily qualified to be there. In other words, the meritocracy that you seek is not necessarily
Charles, there are two issues here, and I think we need to make it very clear.
It's not provided for by the absence of zoning.
For me, zoning, creates the lowering of standards.
Right.
Right, because then you say, okay, you now must have somebody from that particular zone. What about if he's not the best president for the country? Are you going to lower that standard simply to satisfy some, I would say, emotional?
No, I understand that, but the point I'm making is that the meritocracy that you seek.
Now, that's a product of the quality of the party.
Yeah, because the meritocracy you seek was not satisfied by the removal of that zoning. They simply moved it to money.
I see your point, but that factor, even with zoning, will still come to play, because it is the quality of the party or the people who are running the party that's going to determine. Because up till now, we really don't have criteria for leadership selection. What we have, and I always seek opportunity to make this point, the criteria that you find in the Constitution, even the criteria that you find in some of the constitutions of the political parties, is actually a criteria for eligibility. We don't have a criteria for suitability. And that's where the real problem is. right? Now, in other societies, in other democracies, they may not be written in very clear, black and white, but there is a deep entrenched tradition that before you can come to this level, you must have served at other levels.
Right.
You must have really tested your teeth. People would have seen your capacity, your abilities, and your vision. Then you come through, right? Having been tested, evaluated. Here we don't have that. Somebody can just be selling drugs from America or anywhere, comes with a huge amount of money, takes over the leadership of a party, he pays his way, pays all through the courts, and become what he wants to become.
So how is the North? I mean, I don't mean to make a generalization with the North, but I mean, let's take the Arewa Consultative Forum, for example, of which you're a part, and which is a significant bloc within the North. I mean, how are they reacting to all this defections in the PDP, from the PDP to the APC, and the impact that it's having? I mean, is there a sense that the opposition is now essentially consolidated in the North? Because, I mean, a lot of these people are drifting from the South, into the APC. I mean, what sense do you get about all of that?
Well, I don't speak for the ACF or even the NEF. I'm part of them. So I don't quite know what they may want to say. But my understanding, of the North as a people are sick and tired of these kind of politics because they have been the worst hit in the last 25 years. Look at any index of development, poverty levels, infant and maternal mortalities. Look at job creation. Look at a lot of the insecurity you find in the Northeast, in the Northwest. It has a direct nexus with this issue of bad governance. So they are not impressed by either APC or PDP. They have started saying, we no longer care about what party you come from. We only care about the person.
Right.
We are going to start voting persons rather than parties. And by that, they mean to say, we are going to look at your character. We are going to look at your records. And that's the direction. That's the conversation at the public, parlance, at least in the North.
Well, let's hope that they continue on that trajectory, because that's
I have reasons to believe that they will.
That's an important thing to do. Unfortunately, I mean, you were a little bit late arriving, and unfortunate because I mean you were traveling and coming in. So we've run out of time, but it would be great to talk with you again, because I find your sort of insights really interesting. Dr. Usman Bugaje is a political activist, civil society leader, a former special advisor to the Vice President of Nigeria, and also a former member of the House of Representatives. Thank you very much indeed for coming.
My pleasure.
Lovely to see you.
Thank you.